the number of smooth roads across Barbados has increased. That's because the Ministry of Transport and Works resurfaced approximately 70 roads under the Accelerated Mill and Pave program. In this episode of Transport and Works in Motion, we'll look back at MTW's Accelerated Mill and Pave program. The $30 million program was launched in January 2024, and an additional $5 million was allocated in February.
So the Accelerated Mill and Pave program is but one of the programs within the Ministry of Transport and Works, which focuses on road maintenance. Prime Minister Motley would have recognized from a number of the representations made by the ministry over the course of the last year that it was becoming extremely difficult, particularly with climate change, for the ministry to be able to properly execute not only road maintenance, but also road rehabilitation. And as a consequence, we recognize that we would have to work within the dry period, which is mainly between January and say June of each year, in order to be able to do as much work as we possibly could to bring some level of proper road networks across the island.
Many high traffic roads were not in the best condition, so the program became a critical part of MTW's preventative maintenance plan.
Over the years, the ministry has received significant claims relative to poor condition of the road network. We've received significant claims in terms of parts such as damage to tires, damage to rims, damage to shocks. What the ministry decided to do in the last 2 years, we would have done a condition survey of the road network. And what was found was that over 40% of that highways network, this is highways 1 through 7, A through Z, was found to be in very poor condition. Based on the findings of the condition survey, the ministry would have decided to change strategy in terms of how we would normally carry out the road maintenance. Previously, we would have gone in and done significant reconstruction of roads, but that would have been time-consuming and would have resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars more being spent than is required. We made a decision that we would essentially tackle the pavement layer. So by changing that asphalting layer, it provides a watertight seal which prevents water from getting into those layers and would extend the pavement life by 5 to 10 years more.
The Accelerated Mill and Pave program focused on improving roads with deteriorated surfaces that did not require reconstruction or major utility work. Consulting engineers from PESL assessed the proposed list of roads based on strict criteria.
So what we would have followed was the recommendations, of course, looking at the severity and the extent of defects. So we looked at cracking, potholes, also any utility infrastructure that would have been in place, such as trenching, any likely raveling or shoveling. These are technical terms. Based on how extensive the defects are, those would form part of the criteria for assessment. If the extent had gone beyond what is guided by the limitations from mill and pave works, where the full reconstruction may be required, those recommendations are also made to MTW.
The Accelerated Mill and Pave program, for the most part, was rolled out smoothly, but it did encounter some challenges.
Utilities were particularly shallow in some areas where unexpected, so those had to be lowered because you could expect under the compaction of the heavy equipment compacting, they would cause mains to erupt or lines to be ruptured. So that would have one constraint. Another constraint would also be, we'll see the areas where mud is actually there. So we'd have to take out the mud and replace it with compacted road base, typically compacted marl or crusher run for the local terms, and then we would do paving.
After paving was done, road users and residents were mostly satisfied.
We all feel great and we're pleased because the traffic flow better, no potholes, and the community is happy.
It was kind of rough and bumpy and thing, but we know it better.
Growing up, it was kind of bad because, going whole town, the festivals and thing, it was kind of weird. Now seeing it, I impressed with it. You understand? And I want to keep it up and do it all over the country.
Approximately 70 roads have been resurfaced under the Accelerated Mill and Pave program. The ministry is currently conducting assessments on other roads to determine the next phase of work. Thanks for watching Transport and Works in Motion.